Hi there, this is Lisa Sutter, Curriculum Director for Social Studies Success, and I'm here to talk about this wonderful new resource, Texas Republic Reading Challenge. It's a new way of having students get excited about reading. So let's take a look. So this lesson here is about the various conflicts that Texas has. Conflicts with Mexico, American Indians, the Capitol, slavery, and funding. And so it's a pretty lengthy, beefy, hearty kind of a lesson that addresses a lot of content. And in the end, gets students to evaluate what they think was the most challenging of those conflicts. So the lesson starts off with a snapshot and some of the items that you're going to need to gather ahead of time. You'll print these, and then it has this nice handy note right here that says if you're short on time or want to differentiate, you have some readings that are marked with stars. This is wonderful because you can differentiate not just for your struggling students, but for some of your more advanced students and have them read more in depth. You also can shorten this lesson by taking out one of the centers, the conflict over the Capitol. Specifically, it's going to take a little bit of time ahead of time to make these challenge centers. Now, I used file folders. I'll show you that in a little bit. You can use large brown envelopes, but you're going to make multiples of these so that students in pairs can tap into one at a time, and you can have multiple copies to give them the next center to read and to do their challenge with. You'll also have some class sets and some student copies, one per student. This is really important. This is a nice PowerPoint slide-by-slide direction to guide you and the students all from start to finish of the lesson. All right. So here's how this lesson starts, and it has some more directions here. We're going to start off with vocabulary development. Let's take a look at the 9 vocabulary words that students are going to be exposed to. And so we've got archive, and we've got currency, and we've got frontier, and expedition, and territory. We've got diplomacy, conflict, annexation, debt. Those are the 9. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to post these in the front of your classroom. Just kind of line them up, make that the front and center, and you're going to bring your students up to the front of the room, and you're going to say the word archive and then allow them to say it back to you. So now you're hearing as the teacher that they can actually say these 9 terms. Then you're going to send them back to their desks. Give them this color-coded vocabulary activity. And this is fabulous because then it's going to allow you, the teacher, to know where are they at with these terms, which ones maybe need a little more attention than others. So students will then, look at the word wall up at the front, and they'll go, oh, debt. Debt is money you owe. Debt. And I am super, super certain about that. So I'm going to highlight that in green. This other one, I'm not sure about. So I don't even know what this one is. And so I'm not going to fill it in. I'm just going to mark that with a red. So you, the teacher, are going around the room and you're going, oh, they really need some more instruction on this term, and this term. Once vocabulary has been built, it's not over with. You're going to move into the lesson preview, and you're going to have students take a look at this map of the Texas Republic in 1837 and point that out. There it is. And ask them this question: what challenges do you think the new Republic of Texas faced? So they're going to analyze the map and take a look at some of the things that are surrounding it and identify, oh, slavery is going to be an issue. Oh, Mexico, there might be some conflict with Mexico, etc. Then you're going to take them to this 1-page overview of the lesson, of all of the conflicts that Texas Republic was addressing. And you're going to say, hey, what did you say in that preview? What matches up with the reading? So that's building that schema, getting them ready to dive into more detailed reading. Then students are each going to get their own copy of the note sheet, the Texas Republic map. Sometimes when you have students read a chapter or some sort of unit, and you give them a billion questions or even closed notes, it's multiple pages. This is the 1 page that they'll be attending to and turning in the end to show their comprehension of the entire lesson. So they're going to need this. They're going to need this sheet of icons. These are all going to get caught up. Actually, take that back. They're not all going to be cut up. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. All right, so we're going to have that off to the side. So students are in pairs, and they're going to get a center or station of materials from you. So let's say my partner and I got conflicts with Mexico. So in this file folder, I'm going to find one, in this case, 2-page overview of the topic. So we've got that. Notice the terms are bolded, so they're constantly seeing those vocabulary words. So we read that, and then, by the way, if you have those advanced students, you can just kind of slip these extra, more in-depth parts of that same story into the file folder and have them read all of it. If you're feeling like that's too much, it's okay. They can still do this without those additional pages. Let's take a look at the reading challenge for this. Notice that I've put this into a plastic cover because I want to use this over and over. In fact, I want students to use these kind of pens. I've decided that the Flair pens, they tend to work better in terms of erasing. But let's take a look at the types of questions. They're going to be reading a primary source document, an excerpt of a quote, and then they're going to associate it with one of the events that they read about in that particular reading. And I'm going to go, oh, that's this one right here. And notice that the pen isn't like permanently writing on it, so it's nice. But they do need to write on that because they're going to be spelling a number, and that number is going to correlate with their map. All right, notice this is which of the following best completes the diagram. Now this is what we call well, basically it's what you're going to find in an 8th grade STAR test. Stimulus, that's the word I was looking for. So this is the stimulus for this. You can see that it's sort of cause effect. Here's the event, here's the effect, here's the cause, and what of the following completes that best. All right, and so we're going to answer that, and we're going to circle the letter, and we're going to continue on, and you've got a recall question right here, and that's going to give us this right here. We're going to go on to the other side, and we've got another quote and a question related to that primary source, and we're going to write that, and we're going to come up to this, and it's about kind of a recall from the text, and it's going to spell 3. Okay, now if I didn't do those correctly, you can challenge me later. But anyway, it's going to end up with THREE. 3. Oh, that's this. 3. Excellent. So now I've got to go to my handy dandy map. I'm going to place my icon there. When you get my icon, I'm going to cut it out in a section called conflict. I'm not going to cut out either of those because those would be wrong answers. I'm then going to get my handy dandy glue stick out, and I'm going to stick it onto my map. Notice I'm working with my partner, and we've decided that that's the correct answer. And now I need to write a 1 to 2 sentence summary of that topic. So now I've got to go back with my partner, and we can use our challenge, or we can just go back to the text. And what would we say that sums up conflict with Mexico? Once I've finished writing my summary, before I take it up to the teacher, with my partner, we're gonna clean off with a little wet wipe, clean off the markings so that the next students can have a clean copy. I'm gonna check with my teacher. She's gonna okay it, and then I'm gonna move on to the next station. Let's take a look at what some of the other stations look like. Conflict with Indians. We've got the reading. Here are some enhanced readings that are optional. And then I've got a challenge. Oh, looks different. Okay, so in this challenge, what I'm doing is I'm going to be answering some questions about the text that I just read. And I'm starting right here, and I'm going to be answering and then claiming these letters. So my answer right here is right there. That means I need to go this direction. I'm going to claim that little T right there. And this answer right here is right here, and I'm going to claim the H. That takes me to this. Well, that's true. I'm going to claim the I, and I'm going to move over here. Read this. That's true. I'm going to claim my R. And here's the next question. That's the answer to that. Here's the next question. That's that. And I end because my direction is going there. That's the end. So now I spell out T-H-I-R-T-E-E-N, 13. That is my answer. Now notice, a student could technically spell out E-I-G-H-T. Oh, that looks like 18, but then it stops. So sometimes students can try to figure out the code, but a lot of times they'll just take that and they'll get the right answer by answering all those questions, and at least they'll answer most of them. All right, so I know it's 13. I would cut out 13. I would place it on my map, 13. I would write a summary sentence. I would clean my challenge plastic cover, and I would check with my teacher, hand it in, and grab the next one, conflict over the capital. Now, this is the one station that seems a bit more optional if you don't have time for students, but it does have a nice one-page reading. What you're going to get as a teacher is you're going to print this out, but it says cut out the pieces so students can complete the challenge like a puzzle. So truly a puzzle. So let's take a look. I've placed my puzzle pieces in this plastic back. And the challenge is this. I need to come up with the title, Conflict Over the Capital, and I need a summary. So here's a possibility, and here's one, and here's one. And then I've got a bunch of quotes that are related to the reading. So I'm doing some inferencing. I'm coming up with main idea, and then I'm putting these together, and they spell, in the case of F-I-V-E, 5. So I need to cut out this girl, number 5, place it on the map, write my sentence summary, take it to my teacher, put my puzzle pieces back in the plastic, and hand in the center. How about slavery? There's the reading, the one-page reading, and there's the enhancement. And here's another reading challenge. Notice we're matching text, sentences from the text to the image. Here we've got some point of view, and we've got some quotes, and in this case they have to choose all that apply. So in the end we're answering F and the R and the U and the O, and that's 4. And so now I've got to do the same thing, cut out the icon, write the sentence, clean my little plasticky sheet, take it to my teacher, check my answers. And the last topic is funding. And funding goes like this. It's a different type of challenge. It's the same kind of comprehension check. We've got a question and multiple choice answers, and we're going to be circling things. I'm not necessarily circling the most correct answers, but I'm just going to show you. And then we're going to add up points, and they add up to 14. Cut out the icon, write the sentences, clean your paper, check with your teacher, and I've completed the assignment. Look at that, all of that reading and 1 page of notes with only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in this case, 5 icons, and the others have been distractors. And this has gotten our students through a ton of content. At the end, I'm going to have them take a look at all of those conflicts and decide which one was the most challenging, and have them sum it up in a sort of short constructed response. There's a rubric provided, and this is one of the best parts for teachers who are tired. The key has all the answers so that you can show up a day after just looking over the key and say, I've got this. I have got this. I've got all the answers. I don't have to know all the ins and the outs of the content per se, and it's well developed and all the parts and pieces are there. Just so you know, we have a modified version for struggling readers, for EB students, whatever. We've pared down the text. Notice it's usually about a half page, sometimes less. It looks the same. It's got all of the terms embedded in them. And the map is a little more guided. Here's the same map. They're going to be cutting out the icons, but we gave them some extra support when it comes to writing the summaries. So there it is, a reading challenge for your lesson on the Texas Republic. I hope you give it a whirl.